One Battle After Another doesn't just have a really good storyline about white supremacy. One Battle After Another itself upholds white supremacy. It is a racist movie. Now, if I've lost you, go with God. If you're still here, I have structured this review based on the stories and inflammatory topics that the movie presented to us, and I'm going to talk about each one of them, and that will take us through the whole movie, and we will end up right where I began, which is that this movie is racist. The promotional summary for this movie says that when their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue one of their own's daughter. If you look on IMDb, if you look on Wikipedia, if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, like they all say a variation of this. Wikipedia says it's about an ex-revolutionary who must rescue his daughter from a corrupt military official. I'd argue that's not what the movie's about, and I'm going to talk about that after the spoiler cut. It is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who is married to comedian Maya Rudolph. I will make a point about that. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio. It stars Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, and Chase Infinity. On its surface, the movie is enjoyable. I spent the time wondering, like, where are we going? How are we going to end this? How are we going to resolve this? So it was fun to follow. It definitely has a lot of shocking elements, which I'll talk about. So I'm going to review it based on three topics, okay? The hypersexual Jezebel, the hypersexual Jezebel. We could also call this like how it characterized and represented Black women, how they handled the revolutionaries in the movie, and last but not least, the white supremacy racism storyline, which is where you'll hear me dole out compliments. Aside from like everyone was great, all the actors were great, but as far as like the story, that's where you'll hear me like give loads of compliments because that is the strongest part of the movie, coincidentally. So let's get into it. So I wrote my own, what I think is a better summary of this movie. A decorated colonel is offered the position of a lifetime by a secret society, but he must first erase the sins of his past. Because I swear to you that Colonel Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, feels like the main character of the story. I think he got the strongest material, and Sean Penn put in the better performance because he had the best material to work with. Not Leonardo DiCaprio, not Chase Infinity, nobody. Like, he had the best material and the strongest material to work with. So if you're going to write a story about white supremacy and you want it to be shocking, you have to include Black people, right? If you want that shit to be incendiary, you make a Black woman the flashpoint. Enter Perfidia Beverly Hills, played by Tiana Taylor, the hypersexual Jezebel. This story does not exist without her total subjugation, her total oppression by Lockjaw. And the issue is that Paul Thomas Anderson plays it straight with her. And side note, at the beginning of the movie, all of the most jaw-dropping moments are centered around the Black female characters, aka the Black female body. Let's go through them. You've got the first scene between Perfidia and Lockjaw, where she tells him to get it up. I'll get more into that. Now, without the rest of what happens to Perfidia and the other Black women in the movie, the other two Black women in the movie specifically, that moment is great. Like, it's badass, it's different, it's shocking. But because of what happens with Perfidia, it's another example of her just being all about sex. She just can't get enough. It's in everything that she says. It's in everything that she does. So there's that moment with Perfidia. There is the moment where that woman introduces herself in the bank as Jungle Pussy. I don't care that that is the actress's like real life like rap name. This is a movie with a white supremacist storyline, and you make the choice to go with that name. Okay, we've got Perfidia touching herself as Bob is trying to explain how the damn bomb works, but she can't just concentrate on the task at hand. She's touching herself, then she has to go all up on him and kiss him and like get right into it. You have, of course, when Lockjaw is like watching her as she's like handling business, and we've got the camera admiring her body, and we've got him admiring her body and about to touch himself. We've got the words she left behind when she made her escape. You can't lock up this pussy or whatever. So like, there is this segment of like, yes, this is how this character talks, but again, context of the movie, referring herself by her damn genitalia. We have, of course, the entire situation that Lockjaw traps her in, his dominion over her. And we have when her and Bob set up that bomb and they're trying to get away. And she's like, let's be doing it when the bomb goes off. I want to be doing it when the bomb goes off. And he's like, what? And he's trying to like get away, and she's trying to slow him down. So that sex, nothing but sex. She wants it. She's hot, like she can't get enough. She makes that first encounter with Lockjaw sexual. Not him. She does it. And again, you're thinking she's owning him, but because of how everything else plays out with that dynamic, that moment actually belongs to Lockjaw. We also have when their first mission that we see goes well, right? And she's kissing all over Bob, who up until that point, like, they probably didn't even know each other, but she's all over him. And she asks, you think he likes black girls? You like black girls? You think he likes black girls? So here we have our so-called badass black woman leader revolutionary upholding, and Paul Thomas Anderson is writing this, upholding white supremacy within the material of the movie, her asking him and asking if you think he likes black girls. Someone said that she was joking. Again, context. In the context of everything else that is in this movie and what happens and what is done to Perfidia by both Lockjaw and Paul Thomas Anderson on a meta level, that moment is completely inappropriate, and that moment belongs to Bob, because she's a revolutionary who's fighting the power and fighting the man. And here because that question of, do you think he likes black girls? Does he like black girls? Is about hierarchy. It is about the beauty hierarchy that puts black women on the bottom, white women on the top, and they're polar opposite in terms of beauty, and what a white man would like is the bottom. So here we have her being put in her place. Yes, even if she looks like Tiana Taylor, being put in her place, and because if you wanted to subvert that, there's no subversion in this story or in this movie. If you wanted to subvert that, you have Bob ask, you think she likes white guys? You think, but we don't get that. This is the first clear instance of Paul Thomas Anderson disempowering Perfidia. I clocked it right away. And that moment with that question, it belongs to Bob. It belongs to Bob, not her. And then we have the moment of her ultimate subjugation when Lockjaw tells her, if you want to keep doing what you're doing, meet me in this hotel room. We don't get to know what the hell's going on in her mind. Like, she's not an actual character. She meets him and she gets locked into, no pun intended, this dynamic where that man is repeatedly raping her. She doesn't want to be doing this. That's why the postpartum hits her ass so bad afterwards. That's why it hits her so bad. That's why she can't focus on the baby. That's why she'd rather just focus on blowing stuff up, because it was traumatic for her. And when that moment is happening in the hotel, she goes down. We stay with Lockjaw because he is the subject of that scene. She is the object. Not only is she Lockjaw's object, she is objectified by Paul Thomas Anderson. And then so that's her ultimate subjugation, and then she's ultimately discarded when Paul Thomas Anderson throws her ass away to Mexico because he's gotten what he wanted to set the story that he's really interested in off, which is Lockjaw's story. Perfidia Beverly Hills is a hypersexual, bad black woman who rats out her fellow revolutionaries. And how do the other black women portrayed in this movie fare? Tune into part 2. So I just talked about Perfidia being a hypersexual Jezebel who is bad, who rats out her whole team and looking out for herself, puts herself before the mission as a revolutionary, and causes a whole lot of death, and then she escapes, stays her own tail, and never looks back. Not because she's this like fully realized character, but because she is an object that Paul Thomas Anderson is using to tell the story that he really wants to tell. So how do the other black women fare? So we have, again, Jungle Pussy, who refers to her like who That's her. That's her. We have her talking about like she is Black Power. Like it just comes off like a mockery, which I'll get into when I talk about the revolutionaries. Spoiler, preview there. Deandra is a damn mammy. Deandra is a mammy. She is the mammy character because after what Perfidia did, if she is a fully individualized, fully realized character, why is she still part of the French 70? What is her motivation? The mission doesn't matter. This movie doesn't care about the revolutionaries or the revolution or the message that they're spreading. We'll get more into that very shortly. Why is she still part of the French 75? And then why does she even get involved? Her and Perfidia weren't even tight like that because, we don't care about that. She's there to help Bob's character. Not him directly, but just to keep his daughter alive because he needs his daughter alive as a character. That is the priority. This story is not meant for Bob to lose his daughter. And since he can't be effective in protecting her, we have Deandra, the mammy, putting Bob's needs before hers. And going to rescue Willa. Deandra is a very convenient character, very convenient to the white guy storyline, which is a hallmark of a mammy character. And then as far as Willa, she gets the best deal out of the 4 Black women who are presented. She gets the best deal. And what a damn coincidence that she looks closest to Paul Thomas Anderson's wife. This is where I bring in the Maya Rudolph of it all. She looks the closest to his wife, maybe even to his kids. I don't know what his kids look like, but what an unfortunate coincidence. She's also directly tied to Bob and to Lockjaw. She gets to be a fully realized character. She gets to be creative in saving herself. She gets to save herself. She gets to fight back. Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't even have Bob come to the rescue. He comes in after everything's over. She handles it herself. He makes her a competent. She doesn't betray her dad. Yes, she lies, but she doesn't betray her dad. Like she doesn't betray anything. But she ultimately doesn't fare well either because of how he handles the revolutionaries. So let's get into them. Willa is ultimately disposable because Paul Thomas Anderson does not care for or respect or show any respect to the revolutionaries in the writing. They're a hot mess. They're a joke. The French 75 are running around blowing things up. Why do they cut the power to that city? What is that supposed to do? What are their demands? Like, what have they accomplished, actually? Like, what community are they helping? Like, we saw that they helped save those people at the very beginning, but they don't have any interaction with any community past that. It's blowing things up. What does robbing a bank have to do with the revolution? They are disorganized. They are traitors. They don't protect each other. On the other hand, you have the Christmas KKK, who's written as, the revolutionaries are fighting the power structure. This movie has 2 power structures, both of which have their ducks in a row. You have the military that Lockjaw is leading, then you have the Christmas KKK that President Fitzgerald Grants III is leading. They are cohesive. They are on point. They look out like message above all, above people. They're taken and handled in a more serious manner than any of the revolutionaries. The concept that upholds them, white supremacy, racism, is shown more respect than the concept that the revolutionaries are fighting for. All of the characters, all of the members of the French 75 end up dead, in jail, like Deandra, or exiled, like Perfidia. The only one doing actual revolutionary work and who also gets arrested by the end of the movie is Sergio. Like, they co-opt the song, like, the revolution will not be televised. Yeah, because he's the only one doing revolutionary work, and the movie is not about him. And Sergio is the very, very helpful character of color who's there to help Bob get to where he needs to go. He's calm. He's calm, has a good attitude at all times, is even dancing when he gets arrested. Nothing ruffles his feathers, even though his entire operation is under threat by the power structure, and he probably can't bring, like, what's he gonna do? What's going to happen next? Who gives a damn? Because these two things of the revolutionaries and their work and what they're fighting for, and the white supremacist power structure, these things don't hold the same importance in the writing. And obviously, I don't know if you can tell by my tone, but I don't think this is on purpose. Sergio is chill, he's wise, and is literally called Sensei. He is, if he were black, I'd call him a magical Negro. He's not. So he's just a helpful, wise person of color helping Bob. For the amount, I'll save this to the end. I hope I remember. Finally, I said Willa is disposable ultimately because in the end, for whatever reason, she decides to become a revolutionary. She is off to Oakland to go do whatever. I don't know what the hell she went through that made her decide that that's what she wants to do. Like, what example did she see that made her be like, yeah, I want to get into this? So she runs off to go be a revolutionary, but we know what happened. We know how this movie feels about revolutionaries. Dead, in jail, exiled, horn dogs who will betray each other at the drop of a hat. Her future is not bright. She is not going to do great work. Her life is going to be in shambles, and she's going to lose out. Finally, I think if we want to talk about how does this movie feel about revolutionary work, let's look at our main character, Bob. What is Bob doing at the end of the movie? Is he back in the work? Is he training the next generation of revolutionaries? With Lockjaw out of the way, is he back? No. He's in his bathrobe on his couch practicing his selfie skills. That's how Paul Thomas Anderson feels about this revolutionary crap that he's put in this movie, is that his main character at the forefront of promoting this movie is hands off and unbothered by it all, by the fight at the end, this white man. Also, I read an interview with Paul Thomas Anderson where he was asked, you're writing this black female character. I think they call her a woman of color. This woman of color character who's revolutionary. Were you inspired by like real life like women of color who are revolutionaries and fighting the fight? And he said, I guess so. I live with 4 of them. And I'm like, that doesn't answer the question. Your damn wife and your kids are not revolutionaries. Didn't even. Anyways. Okay, so the third topic is Lockjaw storyline, basically. The white supremacy, the racism, storyline, which I think is the best part of the movie. So let's talk about the white supremacy that is the plot as opposed to what this movie is. It's the best part of the movie, is the strongest storyline, is the best storyline. Sean Penn is absolutely incredible and blows everybody out of the water. I liked Lockjaw in that damn walk. I liked Lockjaw. I liked the way that story was told. Like him, I won't even say abusing, but him using his position and his power to go after these people and also to hide his ultimate sin. He really wanted to join this group and he was going to use his power, his position, to wipe his slate clean. I enjoyed the way all of that played out. I enjoyed them showing the military being the ones to turn the protests violent. They were agitators, and then they, of course, turned on the protesters. I think Lockjaw is a great villain. I enjoyed how cutthroat the Christmas KKK was. They are about purity. And I also like the, shout out, I don't know if that's how I should phrase it, that, when they told that one guy that, Lockjaw, he did something unforgivable, taboo. He produced a mix. And the guy was like, which mix? And the other one answered pretty much the worst one, being a half black child. Oh, also in terms of black women being used as something that is just incendiary and to shock you, the black female body. that, producing a half black child, but also like the interracial, relationship, not relationship, the interracial alliance of it all, being portrayed as perverse, which like it's a white supremacist like storyline, that is the point. But I've already gone over everything else that's wrong, with how it upholds those white supremacist views, even down to why Lockjaw got taken out, and by whom? Not by Chase, not by Perfidia, who came back and got her revenge, but he got taken out for race mixing. But like he got taken out by the CKKK for race mixing. That's the sin out of everything he did. Not what he did to Perfidia, but him trying to lie in their face and join their group, knowing, he dared to sully himself and produce. Like, that was it. That's why he got punished. I do think Chase Infinity was great. I loved her performance. I think she played very well against Sean Penn. I loved the chase scene, like the big chase scene. Loved the way that culminated. I think that was great direction, great choice, very effective. You can tell that what Paul Thomas Anderson really wanted to do, what he was interested in, was writing racists who do and say racist things. And the black women, the half black girl, the revolutionaries, all of them, the Latino community, all of them were fodder for him to have race, to prove, to show, to demonstrate how racist Lockjaw is, and how bigoted and all that stuff. Because for all of the slurs, and we'll say slurs, that were uttered about these communities, what did the characters who belong to those communities get out of it? The black women, Sergio, how were they treated? How were they handled? Like they don't matter, like they are fodder. And that is why I say One Battle After Another doesn't just have a good storyline about white supremacy. The movie upholds white supremacy and is racist. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. And I give it 3 out of 5 stars because that's how much Lockjaw carried. But for everything else, deducted stars. If you've seen this movie, let me know what you think. I may not want to hear it, but let me know what you think. Don't go crazy, because I know a lot of people think that this was masterful and amazing and all that.